Okay, so riding horse and just moving. So we just move really to just help loosen everything up before we stand still. So the special posture of Tai Chi is just basically the lower spine, the sacrum and the bottom vertebra, so the part that's beneath the Min Meng, just lengthening downwards. So if you consider the curves of the spine, you've got the sort of sacrum tail part that's curving like this. Then you've got the lumbar spine that is curving the other way. Then you've got the thoracic spine, which is curving like this again. Then the cervical spine, the neck, which curves the same as the lumbar. And then you've got the curve of the head coming over. So the spine is symmetrical. So the thoracic curve is in the middle. The cervical and the lumbar are almost equivalent in their symmetry, and the sacral and the cranial similarly symmetrical. So in the same way that we're trying to get the sacrum to drop and feel like it's curving under, it's the same with the head. So we want to stretch the cervical spine, and the instruction they give for that is just pulling the chin in so the throat feels a little bit constricted. So when you're meditating, it's the eyes about 1.5 meters in front of you on the floor. So just gazing at a spot. So the instruction for the sacral area is mind in Dantian. So if you get the posture right, the mind will naturally come to Dantian. And if you manage to just focus your mind in the Dantian, then that will encourage the posture to right itself. So when you get it right and the legs stop pushing your tail backwards like this, there's a feeling of this sort of rotation happening in the lower spine all the time. Especially as you move from leg to leg, as I sink into this leg, there's a sense of this. There's a figure of 8, not just on the horizontal plane, but rolling under like this. And then the instruction for the cranial part, for the top part of the spine, is the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So that's the equivalent of the mind in the Dantian for the sacral area. It's just like a point of focus, like a little anchor. So what we're really trying to do is just still the mind. So it becomes still like a stone. It becomes stony in its stillness. And for that, you need durations of stillness, not just fleeting moments of stillness, which is what we averagely accomplish. And so one needs to just meditate and just let it come to a stop and let it settle. So the mind settles in the Dantian. So I'm rolling and rolling. And then just feeling the full and empty. Feel how the full side compresses like a spring and how the empty side expands like a piece of elastic. So the spring and the elastic are like living substances. They will naturally return when they are overstressed. So when I sink into the spring completely, the spring wants to throw me out. When I stretch the elastic completely, it will want to pull me back. So there's a living, organic quality to the movement. It's not mechanical. It's the machine is the enemy. So the energy circulates in the legs. It goes down the back and the outside of the leg, and it comes up the front and the inside of the leg. Okay, and now let's just bring it to some sort of stillness. But that circulation is still going on. The body is still, but the energy is moving. So I'd like the circulation to be activated by my relaxation. So my relaxation is an ongoing process. I am relaxing. I never reach pure relaxation. It's an ongoing process. So as I relax here, the energy just slides down the back of the leg. And because the circuit is set up, the going down the back naturally brings it up the front. So the feeling is that the spine from the sacrum just branches energetically, like you've got two tails coming out of your sacrum, either side of the triangle of the sacrum, going down each leg. And you can just feel it as you get tired. The legs are wanting to relieve themselves a little, and to do that, they will push the tail back. Yeah, so if you're keeping your spine vertical, then what will happen is your bum will stick out, your tail will roll backwards. So we just have to just really be brave and just keep it flowing down into each leg, or you can just think of yourself as having a tail that comes under a little bit. So always think of it as like a dog with the tail between its legs, but with the tail between its legs, not because it's miserable, not because it's been put in its place within the pecking order of the pack, but because it's on a mission. When I lived in Hackney, there was a dog. I'm not sure if it was a stray dog or what, but it was always on a mission. And its tail was it wasn't between its legs coming under, it was just down. And it would just be going places, but really focused. And it would cross at the zebra crossing. It would wait at the zebra crossing for the traffic to stop on the Lower Clapton Road and then cross. So that sense of not diverted, you cannot be distracted. So the tail going out, that only happens really because you need to communicate within the pack. Yeah? If you're on your own and you're just doing your own thing, then the tail is down, as it is here. So now let's just breathe it. Yes, always think of the breathing as marking time. Everything is moving. Even the mountain is moving through time. Time is taking it onwards. And there'll always be change. Yeah? And so here we're just really mindful of the flow, the passage of time, tracing each millimeter with equal emphasis. And really feeling the change. How can I keep that smooth and not jerk? I want the changes to be invisible. And if you want to force the mind to stay with it, you just make it difficult, and then you have to concentrate. So just breathing through the small hole in the mouth to constrict the airflow. So you really have to suck to pull the air in, and you really have to blow to get it out. So as we pull in, we're trying to get the min name to squeeze backwards, trying to get the lumbar spine to arch the other way, to bow. And then here it really arches. And so this exercise is a bit like a shortcut, really, just working on the dantian area to make ourselves more aware of it, so that we can put mind in the dantian more easily. Ideally, we would like mind in dantian to be an expression of our inner stillness rather than our inner cleverness, but this is just a good way of getting into it. So as you pull in, you become like the baby in the womb, the fetus, just before the term finishes, when it's really cramped in this tight space. It's just got this, just a simple curve in the spine. It's like an enclosed curve, almost like a circle. So there's just real simplicity. It hasn't become complex. It hasn't developed these different curves in the spine. So as we pull in here, we just touch that for a moment. And then, of course, when we get old, then the spine simplifies back to how it was when we were born. Yeah, people collapse, the spine gets shorter, they bow over, and you get a real sense that they're dropping the ego with old people. So the difficulty of aging forces them to do spiritual work. So I just need to make sure that when I contract the belly here, the back expands, the lumbar back expands. I don't want everything to contract. If I pull too hard, then everything will contract. I want the contraction in the belly to force an expansion in the lumbar spine, basically. Just back out. Okay, now just consider the dantian. So it's a bit like a muscle that we contract like this. So we open it and close it. But really it's two. It's like the brain with the two hemispheres. So you've got a left side of the dantian and a right side. And they actually do this. So, when you do a simple exercise like walking, that takes advantage of the body's dual aspect, left and right, it's doing this, yeah? So now let's just do the same exercise really, but by alternating left and right, and that will produce a turn. So what I do, I just contract the left side of my dantian, and that will just turn me this way a little bit, and it will allow the right side to actually express, and then this side. Yeah. So it's quite tricky because as you contract here, this side of my spine is bending like this, but then this side is going the other way, it's trying to bend backwards. So it produces a real twist in the spine. And then this side. So two very different minds. The mind that is involved in the contracting is a bit like the thinking mind, the worrying thinking mind. And then the other side is just the mind that's just totally interested in what's outside. So like if you're watching an exciting movie, you're not thinking, you're just totally engaged. And so that's what this hand is with that engaged mind. And this is with the inner contracted mind. And again, it's full and empty. But this is not so much full and empty from the weight, more from just the contraction and the opening. It's more like open and closed. So I'm learning to control and contain the thinking mind and open up the engaging mind. Yeah, so the hand that goes out is opening, and then it claws into a fist. And you want the same thing in the feet. So as this hand opens, so does the foot on that side, and then the toes clench at the same time that the fingers do. So I'm massaging the ground with my toes. And so I'm pulling in a thread. It's like you're pulling in a rope. And that pulls the rope in, but it also pulls you forwards along the rope. So the sense is that you're sort of pulling yourself along the thread of time, rather than just letting time take you with this noisy, distracted mind. You're actually actively pulling yourself along it. You know, when you're on a walk in nature, especially when you've got to really take care, like where your feet go, the branches that you're having to get under or around, then you just do it naturally. There's a sense that it's not just your legs that are picking their way through, it's every part of you. Yes, so an exercise like this, you get to the point where the legs sort of switch. So instead of wanting to push you up away from the ground all the time, they're actually actively really trying to pull you down. So going into the leg is a really active process. It's not just releasing to gravity and letting gravity do the work. I'm really clawing myself down. So the yielding becomes more active than the actual attacking. I'm pulling myself in, and this just comes out. Yeah, so that's just spirit. That's spirit having come into the equation, switching the mind. And when spirit comes in, you feel quite different. You feel the body's very unified. So that's the sinking helps that, because you sink into a capsule. So it's like this, the skin that is containing you is trying to shrink. It's trying to pull you into a smaller space. Yeah? So you're gradually getting smaller and smaller and more unified, but your energy is getting vast and just filling the whole room. So John was so good at that. Okay, so now let's just bring it back to riding horse. Again, almost like there's a something is squashing, trying to squash you down. So the more you sink, the more you tend to squeeze out the sides. So there's always a sense of cowering beneath like a low ceiling. They're like, again, like the dog with the tail between its legs, you know, they always look like they're cowering. That's all part of the same thing. It's just the upper part of the spine trying to do what the bottom part of the spine is. Okay, and now let's just compress it even more. Just go down into a squat. So again, just feel the lower back, the lumbar spine being stretched and spread across. Use the elbows to push the knees apart and just move gently from leg to leg a little bit just to keep it opening. And now you sort of feel that sense of cowering sort of in the neck. You can sort of feel the middle of the neck, like the equivalent of the Min Meng in the neck. So feel the kidney areas, like two silos of energy, two storage houses. And then feel the 2 points on the edges of the occiput, either side of the bottom part of the skull, you know, where those points that we flick when we do the warm-up exercises. And just a real sense that the spine is curving under. So the lower spine, for most of us, it's been really abused by, you know, incorrect usage. So it's not something you can write immediately. You have to give it time. So you'd need to sort of do this exercise every day, you know, for a couple of years before you noticed any real shifting in that area. And then just palms on the floor, just feel it. As soon as you put your hands down, the arms take on a different quality. They're quietened down. And then just rock the weight over the arms and let them fill up with supporting strength. And then just pushing the weight back slowly, it fills the feet. Feel it when the heel goes down. Something in you can just suddenly just relax comfortably back into the feet, but the heels need to be down. So just really feel when the heels go down, you enter the ground from the heels. The heels penetrate the ground in a way that the toes don't. The toes grab the ground, but the heel penetrates. So part of the tail coming under is the heels actually going into the ground. And then if you just really direct the mind along the path of the spine, so going under, then it will come up. It'll come up the front as a sense of spirit, like a brightness, a fierce brightness. So the mind has to be really quite determined to push under, not using muscles, just using channeled mind, mind-directed intention. So in Tai Chi, the spirit rises not because I get angry or excited, but because I sink. So it's just a continuation along the circuit of the sinking. And the energy just changes quality as it comes up. It gets finer. Okay, so let's just come forwards once more. So just feel the ground. And then just pull yourself into the arms. Really spread the shoulder blades so that you don't collapse into the arms. The arms actually create a really strong arch. You just want to get it to the point where the arms just start shaking a little bit with the effort. So always trying to get to that point of shake, of tremble, where the muscles are just stressed in the right way. So the more relaxed you are, the sooner you'll get to that point of tremble. So it's a strange thing. We're relaxing to become tense. We're relaxing into tension, but it's the right sort of tension. And then just rock back slowly. The toes cushion the heels. So when the heels hit the ground, they hit the ground very gently. They kiss the ground. And then they penetrate. Yeah, so part of your intention is branching at the sacrum and going down into the heels, and part is coming under with the tailbone. Mind in dantian, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and then just this feeling of the pooling on the top of the head, on the crown. And the fire in the eyes. So the intention that comes under rises up and fills the eyes with fire. So what we're looking for all the time is just for the intensity and the stillness, the focused stillness of the mind to throw us into like trance states. Not a complete one where you just lose it, but a sense that you're so focused, everything just changes. Colors change, shapes change. You don't see the room so well. It's a bit blurred. And there's a sense of almost like you're on fire inside. Okay, so now let's just bring it up. Yes, I really recommend to my students just staying in like a squat like that for a good like 15 minutes a day. And using it like a meditation, yeah? You just, because there's something about it that just you feel really contained. And so you can almost get more quiet and more focused when you're within a squat like that than you can when you're seated in meditation or in riding horse like this. Yeah, and just try and get into the habit of always having the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Yeah, especially when you're sort of just walking, just doing normal things. It's just like a point of focus. You'd like this to be the same, but it's more difficult with dantian. This with the tongue is actually something you can do physically. Okay, and now let's just basically it's just like a walk. Yeah. So I always think that walking is probably the best exercise, but only if you sort of do it mindfully. I mean, it's a strange term, mindful, because normally when I say mindful, I mean without a mind, I mean mindless. Yeah? But this sense that the action, the A-B action, just gets into every part of you. There's no private space anymore within you where you house your grumbling. There's no ego. I've got a student and she's got the biggest ego on the planet. And the only way she ever gets any respite from it is when she goes on these trekking holidays, which are really tough. And she's walking for like 10 hours a day. And she says, after a few days, her mind is just completely blank. She's just walking. Yeah. So it's the sense here. There's something about the rhythm, the lilt, that just rocks you into stillness. And then just relaxing so that this action can get into every part. And just making sure that you continue sinking as the foot comes up. So I sink here. So my dantian is the part of me that's moving the least, and my head and my feet, which are furthest from the dantian, are moving the most. And this is another exercise that you just need to keep it going. Okay, just trying to get the min meng as the focus area. Yes, and my min meng is pushing back. And I'm contained within a sphere. And just feel the brain rocking from side to side inside the cranium. As soon as I think to myself, I have retreated into that private space. And then this has no chance of getting into it, because I guard that. The mind guards that space with its life. Okay, and then just back to riding horse. Again, just feel the dantian, center of the circle. So that really makes the dantian center that exercise, because you're sort of revolving around it all the time. Now let's just turn like the first warm-up exercise. So here, using the turning to produce the centrifugal and the lift. So something lifts inside me. So this is thymus. This really works on the thymus, this exercise. It's like there's a sense of pride inside you that's lifting up, a good sense. And just enjoy it. Just try to get it to be pure turning, so you're not really moving from leg to leg too much. And just feel, just really enjoy the turn, the pure movement. Just like being on a swing. So what's liberating about the swing is when you close your eyes, yeah, and you just let the movement take you. So it's the same here, is when we lose the room, that's when it becomes really enjoyable. So your movement is bringing energy up from the ground and distributing it. Like the man who's sowing seeds. And so this is how we cleanse our karma. This is how we slowly eradicate the bad habits. And so like each individual is really just a collection of bad habits. And they just, we all know the work that needs to go in to actually get rid of them. So that's basically just serving the process, serving the Tao. And that's what riding horses really, I mean, it's such a powerful posture. You're channeling energy from the heavens into the ground and from the ground to the heavens. The same here, it's like grace is just showering out of you and colouring the room, improving the environment. So karma is something that just gets repeated over and over until we do something about it. Yeah, so in the old days, circumstance, fortune actually was your teacher. Yeah, so things happen to you, drawn to you by your karma, for you to tackle in order to cleanse yourself of that karma. And nowadays, we're all designers designing our own lives. If ever anything happens that is fortuitous, we try our best to eradicate it. So people live their comfortable, spectacular lives, but they don't become better people. So internal work really is just the choice of difficulty or choosing the difficult path. Okay, so let's just bring it back. So just feel that now, there's a real sense that something has lifted up the front. So my sinking produces like a force field that enables this sort of hovering energy to gather around the heart. And now let's just lift the legs. So just with a count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and pulling the knee up and just pulling the tail under at the same time. Just let it take time. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this point here that's important, but you have to get into it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so it draws the tail under, and it just draws you in, draws you into the cave of your body. 3, 4. So you really are focused about this point. So your eyes are really just like 2 periscopes, really. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just let the arms help. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now just pull. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, it's great. So a mind that's just, we're just pulling the mind back to the body. So when you see like a workman who does like laboring, manual work, or, like a football player, like a athlete, they're often just really intelligent in their use of their energy and their body, but they're just not university intelligent, yeah? Their intelligence is not locked up in language and in what they know. It's part of their body, and it's what we would like. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I pull the knee up, and that pulls my tail down into the supporting leg and under. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And do this lying down as well. Just pulling one knee right up into the chest and stretching the other one straight. 1, 2, 3. And so the lower back needs endless work, especially until you learn how to stop countering that work as soon as you stop practicing. And so we've got all these wonderful techniques that we do when we practice, and then we tend to forget them and go back to our bad habits when we stop the practice. That's the curse, really. One, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So just trying to feel just how straight that lower back needs to be for the tail, that side, to just really release down the leg. Otherwise it won't. And what is it inside me that just lets go and enables the spine to just flatten out and my knee to come up just that little bit higher? It's not just sort of a little bit more relaxation. It's going into a completely different world. And so again, it's an act of spirit. So when I pull this right up, ping, everything's different. And one more here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now let's bring it back to riding horse. And I just feel that, like the two tails going down the legs. Yeah, so from your sacrum, your tails go down, and it's the little coccyx really that just kicks them back up again up the front. So the tailbone is actually really important. It's the devil in you. The tail is the devil in you. So you're going, ooh, yeah? It's naughty. And then let's just bring it up to. And now this, in a sense, this is the most difficult thing, because as soon as we straighten our legs, the lower back tends to get compromised. So can I just keep that sense of the sacrum flowing down and just straighten my legs as much as I can without breaking that? And then you just get a feeling that your spine is just ramming down the back of the legs and going straight to the ground like a big wooden stake. Yeah? And there's a sense of lift up the front. You can't straighten the legs completely, otherwise it'll roll the tail back. So it's just basically the angle of the pelvis. I want the pelvis to be angling forwards all the time in Tai Chi. Just that sinking. Yeah, you're not sunk, you're sinking. It's almost like the sweat is trickling down your back and just down each leg all the time. And that's just enabling this sort of mischief to come up the front, this sparkle. Mind it down chin, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And the more you withdraw, the more you become still inside, the more your energy sprouts these structures, you know, like the wings and the horns and the mane. Yeah, so you've got a real armor. And the mind is just sort of hovering just on the edge of the imagination. You know, so you're threatening to just lose this world, like you're going into like a psychedelic trip. Yeah? And this world is threatening to disappear and be replaced by this energetic world. So always on the edges. It's going one way, then it's going the other. That's where most energy is. So I call it imagination, but it's not really what you imagine. Yeah? It's more like a dream. You know, you wake up from a dream and you think, how did I dream that? Because it's completely out of my experience. So it's like just parts of the mind that we don't realize are there are coming up. Okay, great.